swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
It got to the point where the screaming was completely out there.
I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he's become detached from reality.
Has it been a surprise to you at all that these Republican members of either the administration or Republicans who worked at the local level have been this forthcoming? And some of these are people who formerly protected former President Trump and are now just kind of laying everything out in front of this committee.
Everyone who worked in the Trump administration, myself and others, we saw things firsthand. We've lived it. We know exactly who Donald Trump is, how he behaves, and the types of things that he's capable of. I think a lot of these people, I think they realize that when it came down to January 6th and our actual election, that this was their red line and they needed to tell the truth about it. Do I wish that they had come forward earlier? Yes, I do. I mean, there was a moment there where, in 2020, Donald Trump could have been reelected, and he's still out there saying that he may run for office. And some of these people turn around and they say they'll still support him. I think at some point there does need to be a reckoning in the Republican Party, and people need to start telling the truth. They have unleashed a movement that is going to be very hard to put back in the box. This movement feels very emboldened. They also feel like they have found a voice in these elected leaders, and that's why this is so dangerous. It's no different than what we see in radicalization on global terrorism, which is something that I've worked on throughout the years. This is a very similar pattern.
Do you think these hearings are going to work toward that sort of, breaking through what you said this threat is and this movement is?
I think they'll certainly, I'm hoping that in the next hearing, they will draw the correlation, and in upcoming hearings, if they decide to proceed with them, that they will link to see exactly what happened. I'm curious to see, were there any connections to online chat groups that happened with some of the inner Trump circle, because that is usually a lot of the recruitment and a lot of the threatening chatter. And I would say the temperature was very high in the lead up to January 6th. I was monitoring closely because I was trying to protect myself and my family, considering the death threats we get. And I knew that going into the January 6th, that there were going to be a lot of those types of groups descending on our nation's capital.
Your former boss, who has been a central part of the hearings work in showing that there was this pressure campaign against him, the committee hasn't ruled out continuing to pursue him to testify, whether voluntarily behind closed doors or otherwise. Do you think his perspective on that day would add anything, or is there enough out there?
I think he certainly had his staff speak for him, like the general counsel and his chief of staff, Mark Short. But look, it's always more powerful to have the individual speak for himself. And I do think that Mike Pence could make a major difference for the country overall. I think he would have made a major difference if he would have come forward very, very bluntly and taken a stand earlier in the past year. I think having Mike Pence testify in his own words and also tell the truth about the amount of pressure and the kinds of things that happened internally in the White House. I have seen him deal with some very challenging situations and moments when it came to navigating around Donald Trump. And so I think that it would be powerful to hear it from the former vice president himself. I think he will likely run for president. I know that was his intent. And if that's the case, then I think that he should have the courage to come forward, just like Cassidy Hutchinson did, and tell the truth about what happened that day and push back on this entire thing that's too dangerous, especially when Donald Trump is likely going to seek office again.